I sit in the kitchen of my apartment in downtown Asheville, the golden light from the pendant lamp above the island casting a glow on the cold coffee cup. The wall clock ticks, nearing midnight. The phone on the granite countertop buzzes softly, its screen lighting up with Claire's name. I frown, my hand grazing the coffee cup. My wife is supposed to be on day 4 of her girls' trip in Savannah. A message at this hour isn't normal. I open the phone and my world collapses. I'm not coming back. I've met someone better, and already moved your things to storage. Below the text is a screenshot of a bank transaction. $120,000 from our joint account, transferred to Claire's personal account. I set the phone down, my hand steady, but my chest feels heavy, like it's weighed down by stone. 14 years of marriage shattered in 2 sentences and a screenshot. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the latest video. I take a sip of coffee, the familiar bitterness sliding down my throat. I'm Nathan Harper, 45 years old, a forensic accountant. My job is to uncover discrepancies, errant numbers, secrets hidden in ledgers. But with Claire, I ignored every sign. Weekend trips that stretched into weeks, new clothes she never wore at home, phone calls that stopped when I entered the room. I saw it all but said nothing. Maybe that was my first mistake. Or the bigger mistake was marrying someone who thought my work was just boring spreadsheets. The apartment is silent, save for the clocks ticking and the faint whistle of wind through the window overlooking the Blue Ridge Mountains. Claire chose this apartment 3 years ago, saying it showed class. I agreed, as I did with the bigger house, the luxury car, the extravagant vacations. Now this space feels alien, like a museum of wrong choices. Lights from Patton Avenue flicker outside, Asheville's coffee shops and art galleries sunk into darkness. This city, with its mountains and artistic vibe, was once where I thought we'd live forever. I reread the message, my eyes fixed on the $120,000 figure. Claire didn't just leave, she planned this, and the transfer was a calculated move. I've seen similar frauds at work. 8 years ago, I caught a CFO embezzling millions through shell accounts, earning me the nickname Number Detective from clients. But at home, I let Claire hide from me. Her claims that trips were just yoga and juice I wouldn't enjoy. Credit card bills that skyrocketed, paid without question. Messages she deleted when I got close. I saw it, but stayed silent, hoping things would fix themselves. I opened the laptop on the island, logging into an email account Claire doesn't know exists. 3 alerts from the bank's security system pop up. Someone tried to change passwords on accounts Claire's never heard of. Accounts I set up long ago, after an evening talk with my brother about worst-case scenarios. Claire's thorough, I'll give her that. She tried digging beyond the joint account, but I'm one step ahead. I pick up the phone, type 2 words in reply. Good luck. My fingers move lightly, without hesitation. Then I call Ethan, my brother. He answers immediately, his voice hoarse. Probably just woken up. Remember that contingency plan we discussed 5 years ago? I say, my tone even, like reporting a bad transaction. Ethan pauses for a second, then asks, "You sure?" "Sure," I reply. She just made her move. I hang up, my eyes scanning the apartment. The kitchen light shines on the wedding photo on the wall, the only picture left with both of us. Claire in a white dress, her smile radiant. Me beside her, stern but happy. I didn't realize this photo was an exception. The other frames are all Claire's. Her in yoga poses, her with friends at retreats, her in places I didn't belong. I should have noticed. Forensic accounting taught me to see details. I've cracked complex frauds, like tracing an international money transfer network for a corporation. But at home I let Claire outmaneuver me. Her returns from trips with distant eyes, luxury items appearing without explanation, calls she took in the bathroom, her voice too low to hear. I saw it, but chose not to confront, thinking love would hold things together. I stand, walk to the window. The Blue Ridge Mountains blur in the darkness, a reminder that everything passes. Claire thinks she's won, that she can erase me from her life with a text and a transfer. She doesn't know about the hidden accounts, the limited liability companies, the trusts I set up 6 years ago when I started to suspect. She doesn't know I prepared for this day, even if I hoped it would never come. I return to the island, take a final sip of coffee. The bitterness is now a declaration. Claire made her move, and now it's my turn. The contingency plan, Ethan and I discussed over beers in his backyard, amid talk of work and family, wasn't just an idea. It's a safety net, built from late nights and fraud cases. Claire doesn't know, and that will be her biggest mistake. I turn off the kitchen light, the apartment plunging into darkness. I head to the bedroom, my mind already calculating. The battle hasn't started, but I'm ready. I stand in the apartment's darkness, streetlights from Patton Avenue seeping through the window, illuminating the wedding photo on the wall. It's the last remnant of a time we once had. I look at it, and memories flood back like numbers in a spreadsheet, row by row, column by column, telling a story I tried not to face. I met Claire Mitchell at a University of North Carolina alumni event, 38 years old, fresh from a brief first marriage. That marriage fell apart because we wanted different things. She craved adventure. I wanted stability. After the divorce, I poured myself into building my forensic accounting firm, finding solace in numbers that never lied. Claire, 34, burst in like a fresh breeze. She was vibrant, ambitious, with golden hair, and eyes always looking forward. She didn't care about my work, the complex financial frauds I unraveled. I don't need to understand the details, she'd say, whenever I tried to share a case, her voice soft but firm. As long as you make enough for us to live well. I agreed, because I loved her. After a year of dating, we married in a small ceremony in Asheville under the Blue Ridge Mountains shadow. Claire wanted a bigger life, and I delivered. I used my savings to fund her yoga studio, a sleek downtown space with big glass windows and premium mats. When she wanted a grander house in the upscale Montford neighborhood, I nodded. When she wanted luxury cars and resort vacations, I signed the checks without question. Each time, I thought it was how to keep her happy, to keep us solid. But my father, gone 5 years now, warned me once. We were fixing his porch in Asheville's outskirts, the scent of pine in the air, the hammer's rhythm steady. He paused, hammer in hand, and looked at me with a thoughtful gaze. "Nathan," he said, his voice careful, "I notice your wife spends a lot of your money. Just make sure she values what you do to earn it." I laughed, brushed it off, said Claire just liked a quality life. But his words stuck, like a discrepant number I couldn't ignore. The apartment is quiet now, only the faint whistle of wind through the window. I sit on the sofa, eyes still fixed on the wedding photo. Claire didn't just spend, she changed. 6 years ago, she dove into the yoga influencer crowd, living through Instagram and curated photos. Her studio gained thousands of followers, and she started taking retreats weekends, then full weeks. "You wouldn't enjoy it," she'd say, her voice sweet but distant. "It's all yoga talk and juice cleanses." I nodded, trusted her, or pretended to, but I wasn't blind. I saw the signs, the way I spot a bad transaction in a ledger, her coming home with eyes that didn't see me, like I was no longer part of her world. Luxury items, a designer bag, shoes she didn't explain, calls she took in the bathroom, her voice too low to hear. Once I saw Evan Carter on her Instagram, a fitness influencer with a flashy Asheville gym. I didn't ask, afraid of the answer. I walk to the island, where the coffee cup sits like evidence. 6 years ago, after my father's warning, I started protecting my assets. Nothing illegal, just prudent. I set up 2 limited liability companies, established trusts, invested in crypto, and opened offshore accounts for international clients. Claire only knew about our joint checking and savings. She didn't know the rest, and I didn't tell her. Part of me always knew this day might come. I look out the window, the Blue Ridge Mountains faint in the dark. Asheville sleeps outside, its cobblestone streets, and dim cafe lights serene. Claire thinks she's won, that she can walk away with $120,000 in a text. She doesn't know I've prepared, not just to protect money, but to protect myself. The contingency plan I discussed with Ethan 5 years ago, over beers in his backyard, is a safety net built from late nights and fraud expertise. Claire doesn't know, and that will be her biggest mistake. I return to the sofa, my gaze lingering on the wedding photo. It's a reminder of what I've lost, but also what I'm about to reclaim. I take a final sip of coffee, the bitterness, now a promise. The battle has begun, and I'm ready. The next morning, I wake early, as always. Habits die hard, even when your world has crumbled. I stand in the Asheville apartment's kitchen, brewing coffee. The grinders hum, drowning out the silence. Dawn's light slips through the window, illuminating the misty Blue Ridge Mountains. I pour coffee into a mug, sit at the island, and open my laptop. Steam rises from the mug, carrying the familiar bitter scent. I log into my personal financial management system, software I customized from forensic tools to track my assets. With a few clicks, I activate the contingency plan Ethan and I designed 5 years ago.
First, I freeze all joint accounts and credit cards linked to Claire. Next, I trigger a fraud alert for the $120,000 transfer, using a bank contact to expedite the process. I email my lawyer, attaching documents proving Claire's financial misconduct, with a brief note, file for divorce immediately. Each step is precise, like analyzing a complex fraud, but this time, the case is my marriage. The apartment remains quiet, only the sound of typing and a faint breeze through the window. I sip my coffee, my eyes drifting to the wedding photo on the wall, the one I stared at last night when Claire's text tore everything apart. 14 years, and she thought she could erase me from her life with a single transfer. She doesn't know about the hidden accounts, the trusts, the limited liability companies I set up long ago. I pick up the phone and call my mother, Margaret. She answers quickly, her voice warm, but tinged with concern. Mom, I say, my tone even. Claire's left me. She took money from the joint account and moved my things to storage while she was supposedly on vacation. She stays silent for a moment, then sighs. I'm sorry, Nathan, she says, her voice soft but firm. But I'm not surprised. What are you going to do? What I've been preparing for years, I reply. Protect what's mine. I hang up, a heavy feeling settling in my chest. Mom never liked Claire. Not out of malice, but because she saw what I tried to ignore. Claire didn't value me. I stand and walk to the window. Outside, Patton Avenue is starting to bustle. Coffee shops opening, the scent of fresh bread wafting through. Siva wakes up, but I feel like I'm in another world. One where everything I've built is under threat. An hour later, my phone lights up with Claire's name. I decline the call. 10 more calls follow, then a text. What the hell? Where's the money? My card's not working. I don't respond. Instead, I grab my car keys and drive to the storage unit Claire mentioned in her message. The address is in Asheville's outskirts, an industrial area with drab gray buildings and iron fences. I punch in the code she sent, and the metal door creaks open. Inside there are just 2 boxes of clothes and my old laptop. No family photos. No watch from my father. Items worth more in sentiment than any amount of money. I stand up in the cold space, the smell of dust and motor oil lingering. Something in me hardens. This isn't just about money anymore. It's about Claire trying to erase me from her life, as if I'm not worth existing. I close the unit, load the boxes into my car, and head back to the apartment. On the way, I drive through downtown Asheville, where Claire's yoga studio still glows with light. Students in expensive athletic wear, coming and going. I paid for that studio, dipping into my savings, so Claire could live her dream. Now it's a reminder of what I said, dripping into my savings, so Claire could live her dream. Now it's a reminder of what I sacrificed. I pull into a small coffee shop on Patton Avenue, welcomed by the aroma of roasted coffee and soft folk music. I sit, open my laptop, and check my financial system. I joined on my laptop and check my financial system. The joint accounts are locked. The $120,000 transfer under bank investigation. Everything's on track. I sip my coffee, gazing out the window. The Blue Ridge Mountains rise in the morning mist, majestic and still. Claire thinks she's won, that she can walk away. But she gets first. The Lord craves. Please one that she can walk away with the money. And a new man and a new man. I've been proud of the fitness influencer I saw at Sutra. She doesn't know I've been preparing for years. Not to not preparing for this. Tis not preparing this. Tis not
Not a fortune up on Patton Avenue. The smell of roasted coffee and gentle folk music enveloping me. My laptop is open, its screen displaying financial databases only someone like me, a forensic accountant, can access. After leaving the storage unit this morning, where I found Claire had discarded my most cherished keepsakes, a cold determination rose in me. Claire didn't just take $120,000 from our joint account. She has a bigger plan, and I need to know what it is. I type Evan Carter's name into the system. He's the better person Claire mentioned in her text, a fitness influencer with a perfect smile and a flashy gym in downtown Asheville. I've seen him on Claire's Instagram, photos flaunting muscles and a lavish lifestyle. But numbers don't lie, and the data before me tells a different story. Evan's gym, Carter Fitness, is drowning in debt. 3 maxed out business credit cards, an exorbitant lease he can't afford, and a business loan with crippling interest rates. I frown, typing further. Then I see it. 2 months ago, Claire co-signed a car loan with Evan, using our marital assets as collateral. She didn't just leave me. She used my money to build a new life with him. I sip my coffee, the bitterness now a companion. Forensic accounting taught me to spot small details, like when I uncovered a CFO embezzling millions through offshore accounts. But this time the case is my marriage, and Claire left the trail. I think of the signs I ignored. Extended yoga retreat, trips, clothes she bought without explanation, times she called Evan an inspiration in the fitness community. I saw it all but didn't act. Now each number on the screen is a confirmation. Claire didn't just betray me. She planned it for a long time. I closed the laptop, looking out the window. The Blue Ridge Mountains shimmer in the morning sun, mist fading from their peaks. Asheville buzzes outside, with pedestrians and cars moving along Patton Avenue. I think of the apartment where the wedding photo still hangs like a bitter reminder. Claire thinks she can erase me from her life with a text and a transfer. She doesn't know about the hidden accounts, the trusts, the limited liability companies I set up 6 years ago. She doesn't know I've activated the contingency plan, and now I'm ahead. My phone buzzes on the table, a text from Sophie Bennett, my colleague. Claire's called the office 3 times, says there's a misunderstanding with the account, and needs to talk to you urgently. I give a faint smile. Sophie, 42, is the only one at the office I trust with this. She's been through a painful divorce, and her eyes always hold a hint of understanding when I mention Claire. I text back. If she calls again, tell her to contact my attorney. I stand, pay for the coffee, and drive to the office in downtown Asheville. The modern building with large glass windows overlooks Patton Avenue, where I've built my forensic accounting firm over the past decade. Sophie's at the reception desk, looking up as I walk in. Claire sounded panicked, she says, her voice low. She says the account lock is a bank error. Not an error, I reply. Not a question. She knows why. Sophie nods, asking no more. I head to my private office, close the door, and sit at my desk. The familiar space, bookshelves stuffed with documents, a computer screen with data tables, is where I feel in control. But today, it can't ease the emptiness in my chest. Claire tried calling 10 times this morning, sending angry texts when her credit card was declined. She doesn't know I've frozen everything, not just to protect the money, but to protect myself. I drive to a hotel in Asheville's outskirts, where I'll stay temporarily until I find a new place. The apartment, with its wedding photo and Claire's memories, isn't home anymore. The hotel is simple, with white sheets and a window facing a parking lot, but it's enough for me to focus. I open my laptop, checking the financial system again. The fraud alert for the $120,000 is being processed by the bank, and my lawyer confirms the divorce filing is underway. Everything's on track, but victory doesn't come. Instead, there's a cold clarity. I'm not angry anymore. I'm focused, like when I analyze a fraud, and know the next step. I look out the hotel window, distant lights flickering in the dark. Claire and Evan think they can build a future on my money. They don't know. I've been preparing for years, not just to protect assets, but to protect my life. The contingency plan with Ethan is a safety net, built from late nights and fraud expertise. Claire doesn't know, and that will be her biggest mistake. I step into the office in downtown Asheville, light from the large glass windows spilling onto the wooden floor, reflecting the bustling Patton Avenue outside. Sophie Bennett, my colleague and close friend, looks up from the reception desk, her eyes carrying a hint of worry. Claire called here 3 times this morning, she says, her voice low but clear. I nod, unsurprised. How did she sound? I ask, though I already know the answer. Panicked, Sophie replies, shrugging. She says everything being locked is a bank error. I enter my private office, close the door and sit at my desk. The familiar space, bookshelves packed with forensic documents, a computer screen with data tables, is where I always feel in control. But today, it can't soothe the emptiness in my chest. Claire tried calling 10 times after I locked the joint account, sending furious texts when her credit card stopped working. She doesn't know I've activated the contingency plan, and now I'm ahead. An hour later, the desk phone rings. Sophie buzzes from reception. "Claire's here," she says, her voice cautious. "She's pretty insistent," I sigh. Stand and head to the lobby. Claire stands there, dressed in expensive yoga gear, sunglasses pushed up on her head, blonde hair tied high. She smiles when she sees me, the familiar smile she's used for 14 years, whenever she wanted something. "Nathan," she says, loud enough for nearby staff to hear, "there's a huge misunderstanding with the bank. All our accounts are locked." I look her in the eyes, my voice low and steady. "No misunderstanding, Claire. You transferred money from the joint account without permission. The bank flagged it as fraud." Her smile falters, but she quickly regains composure. "It's a joint account, Nathan. I'm your wife." "Wife. Soon to be ex-wife," I reply, my voice unwavering. "You drained our savings while announcing you'd moved my things out and found someone new. That's textbook financial misconduct." Her voice drops, almost hissing. "You can't do this to me. I put a deposit on a new place. I have commitments with Evan Carter." I nod, my eyes still locked on hers. "Yeah, I know all about those commitments." Her face pales, but I don't stop. "I'm protecting myself from fraud. Want to sue? Go ahead. But you thought the joint account was everything, didn't you?" She blinks, confused. "What are you talking about?" "You'll find out in discovery," I say, then turn and walk back to my office. Behind me, I hear Claire's heels clicking on the floor, but she doesn't follow. She knows I'm not bluffing. I sit at my desk, open my laptop. An email from Claire's newly hired lawyer pops up, threatening to audit my accounting work if I don't cooperate to unlock the account. A clumsy move, baseless. I forward it to my lawyer with one line: "Proceed as planned." Claire's trying to scare me, but she doesn't know I've been prepared for years. Hidden accounts, trusts, limited liability companies she's never heard of. My phone buzzes repeatedly with texts from mutual friends. "Nathan, why are you controlling Claire like this?" One writes. "She just needs time to find herself," another says. "No one asks where Claire was last week or what she did with $120,000. No one asks about Evan Carter, the better man she chose." I don't reply. Instead, I leave the office and drive to the community gym in West Asheville, where I've worked out for years. Not Claire's glitzy yoga studio, not Evan's sleek gym, but a simple place with old weights and worn wooden floors. I lift until my arms tremble, sweat dripping down my forehead. Each rep pushes Claire further from my mind. I look out the gym window, the sunset casting a golden glow over the Blue Ridge Mountains, painting their peaks. Asheville lies peaceful outside, with its cobblestone streets and laughter from nearby coffee shops. But within me, a trap is closing. Not around me, but around Claire and Evan. They thought they could build a future on my money, on their lies. They don't know I've activated the contingency plan, built from late nights and experience cracking fraud cases. They don't know I uncovered the car loan Claire co-signed with Evan, using our marital assets as collateral. Claire doesn't know, and that will be her biggest mistake. I leave the gym, driving back to the hotel. In the darkness, I feel clearer than ever. The battle is coming, and I'm ready. I sit in the hotel room in Asheville's outskirts, neon lights from the parking lot filtering through the window, illuminating the laptop on the table. 3 days after confronting Claire at the office, my phone buzzes with a call from my lawyer. I pick up, her voice sharp and concise. "Nathan, we found something interesting," she says. "Claire's been transferring money from the joint account to another for over a year. Small amounts at first, then larger. Nearly $80,000 total." I frown, my grip tightening on the phone. "Where to?" I ask, though I suspect the answer. "Mostly to an LLC owned by Evan Carter," she replies. "And there's more. Claire forged your signature to co-sign a $175,000 loan for his gym equipment, tying it to your marital assets." I'm silent, feeling like I've been punched in the chest. Not from surprise. I've suspected Claire for a while, but because this confirmation makes everything starkly clear. She didn't just leave me for Evan Carter. She planned for over a year, using my money, my assets, to fund her new life with that fitness influencer. "Thank you," I say, my voice even. "Keep gathering evidence." I hang up, staring out the window. The Blue Ridge Mountains blur in the dark, a reminder that everything I've built is at risk. I drive to my brother Ethan's house in Asheville's outskirts. His wooden home sits on a hill, its backyard overlooking mist-covered mountain peaks. Ethan works in cybersecurity, a perfect partner for my forensic skills. We've collaborated on cases before, but this is personal. I knock, and Ethan opens the door, his expression serious. "Come in," he says, leading me to a small office, packed with computer monitors and equipment. "I need everything you can find on Carter Fitness LLC, I say, sitting down. Bank accounts, loans, credit applications, everything." Ethan raises an eyebrow. "Legal channels only, right?" "Of course," I reply. "We just connect the dots faster than most." He types, the screen's lighting up with data. 3 hours later, we have answers. Evan Carter isn't just in debt, he's underwater. His Instagram flaunts a modern gym, new equipment, and glitzy events. But the reality is a financial mess. Risky loans, an unaffordable lease, and, most recently, investments from Claire, my money. But one thing stops me cold. Ethan points at the screen. "Look at this," he says. "Carter applied for a small business loan 4 months ago, using gym equipment as collateral. Guess who co-signed?" I lean in, reading the document. Claire's signature is there, on the $175,000 loan. "She co-signed before leaving you," Ethan says, his voice low. "But here's the kicker. The loan requires spousal liability. They used your marital status to get better terms." I stare at the screen, my breathing slowing. Claire put my assets at risk for Evan's loan, without my knowledge. "Anything else?" I ask. Ethan keeps typing. 3 credit cards, a car lease and a new property lease, all co-signed by Claire, backed by your marital assets. I stand walking to the window. Outside, kids play in a neighbor's yard, their carefree laughter echoing. They don't know adult complexities, mistakes like Claire and Evan's. "She has no idea what she's done," I say, my voice low. Neither does he. Ethan nods, silent. I turn back, feeling clearer than ever. Claire thought she could take my money, build a new life with Evan, and walk away. She doesn't know I've locked the joint account, activated the contingency plan, and now hold evidence of her fraud. She doesn't know about the hidden accounts, trusts, and LLCs I set up long ago. She doesn't know I've prepared for this day. I send the new documents to my lawyer, requesting an emergency asset protection filing. "Move fast," I write, before they realize what's happening. I close the laptop, looking out Ethan's backyard. The sunset bathes the Blue Ridge Mountains, gilding the trees. Asheville is calm, but inside me, a battle looms. Claire and Evan went too far, and now they'll face the consequences. My contingency plan, built from late nights and fraud expertise, is in motion. Claire doesn't know, and that will be her biggest mistake. The next morning, I drive to Carter Fitness, Evan Carter's gym in downtown Asheville. The modern building has glass walls and cliché slogans painted on them. Reinvention and no limits. I park, clutching a file of documents, proof of the loans Claire co-signed with Evan, using my marital assets as collateral. After discovering she forged my signature on a $175,000 loan, I know I need to face Evan. Not to argue, but to make him understand the consequences coming. I step inside, the air thick with expensive cologne and pulsing electronic music. Young people in pricey athletic wear snap selfies among shiny equipment, barely working out. Evan spots me immediately. He's taller in person, with artificially tanned skin and gleaming white teeth, like he stepped out of an ad. He approaches, extending a hand, his smile carefully calculated. "You must be Nathan," he says, his voice smooth. "Claire's mentioned you." "I'm sure she has," I reply, not shaking his hand. "We need to talk privately." Evan's smile falters, but he leads me to a glass-walled office, where people outside can see, but not hear. He closes the door, sits in a leather chair, and gestures for me to sit. I stand, placing the file on the desk. "This is every financial document tying you to Claire," I say, my voice steady. "Loans, credit cards, leases, all co-signed with my marital assets." Evan picks up the file, flipping through pages, his eyes wary. "I don't get it," he says, though his voice trembles slightly. "It's simple," I reply. "Claire used our marriage to secure loans for your business. Now we're divorcing, and those securities are void." His face pales as he turns more pages. "These deals were legal between me and Claire," he says, his voice hardening. "Maybe," I say, "but the bank approved them based on my joint assets and income. Assets she no longer has access to." Evan slams the file shut, his eyes narrowing. "What do you want?" "Nothing from you," I reply. "I just want you to know what's coming. The bank will call those loans in soon." I pause,
locking eyes with him. Claire said you were wealthy, didn't she? Evan clenches his fists, his voice tense. She said money wasn't an issue for you. Money was never the issue, I say. Trust was. I turned to leave, but pause at the door. One more thing. When Claire moved my things, she took some sentimental items. Family photos, my father's watch, things money can't buy. He looks at me for a moment, then nods. I'll see what I can do. I leave the gym without looking back. Outside, sunlight bathes Patton Avenue. Coffee shops and art galleries, bustling as usual. But inside me, a trap is closing around Claire and Evan. They thought they could use my money to build their future. They don't know I've locked the assets, activated the contingency plan, and hold proof of Claire's fraud. The next day, a courier delivers a small box to the hotel. Inside are the family photos, my father's watch, and a few other personal items. No note, no explanation. I hold the watch, its metal cool in my hand, recalling when my father wore it while teaching me to fix a car in his backyard. Something in me softens, but not for long. Claire returned the items, but she can't return the 14 years I gave. That afternoon, my lawyer confirms the emergency asset protection order was approved. All joint assets are frozen until the divorce is finalized. I check my financial system. Claire tried accessing the joint account 17 times in the last 24 hours, even attempting to open new credit using the house as collateral. Denied. My phone lights up with her name. This time I answer. What did you do? Claire nearly screams, her voice trembling. The bank's demanding Evan's entire loan. They're seizing the gym equipment tomorrow. That's unfortunate, I reply, my voice calm. This is revenge, Nathan. You're ruining him to get back at me. I haven't done anything to him, I say. I'm protecting myself from fraud. You used our marriage. You used our marriage to secure his loans without my consent. That's illegal. We can work this out, she says, her voice suddenly softening. Come home, we'll talk. 14 years, and she still thinks I'm easily manipulated. There's nothing to work out, I reply. The divorce will proceed. The fraud investigation will proceed. And Evan will learn a costly lesson about due diligence. I hang up, block her number, and turn off the phone. I look out the hotel window. That shows lights twinkling in the dark. The Blue Ridge Mountains stand firm, unmoving. Claire and Evan went too far. And Evan went too far. And now the trap is snapped shut. My contingency plan built from late nights so far, and now the trap is snapped shut. My contingency plan built from late nights, and forensic expertise is working. Claire doesn't know, and that will be her biggest mistake. I sit in the meeting room at the Asheville courthouse. Light from the window spilling onto the dark wooden table, casting faint streaks. Across from me are Claire and her lawyer, both here for the mandatory mediation session. Claire looks exhausted, her expensive yoga outfit and flawless makeup, unable to hide the dark circles under her eyes. More weeks after I blocked her number, after the find the dark circles under her eyes. 3 weeks after I blocked her number, after the financial trap closed around her and Evan Carter, she was no longer the confident Claire I once knew. Her lawyer spoke first, his tone stiff. My client is willing to negotiate asset division despite Mr. Harper's aggressive tactics. My lawyer, a sharp woman with an unyielding gaze, smiled politely. That's well, she said, sliding a document across the table. Very well, she said, sliding a document across the table. This in the development. The bank completed its fraud investigation.
They confirmed Claire forged Mr. Harper's signature on multiple loan documents, using marital assets as collateral without his consent. Claire's lawyer scanned the document, his face paling. We need time to review, he said, his voice strained. Of course, my lawyer replied. But you should know the bank has referred the case to the prosecutor. This meeting is a courtesy before criminal charges are filed. Claire looked at me, eyes wide. Criminal charges. Nathan, are you serious? I met her gaze, my voice steady. I'm not filing charges. The bank is. That's what happens when you commit loan fraud. Her lawyer whispered something, but Claire shook her head sharply. My lawyer continued. If Miss Mitchell signs the agreement today, Miss Harper is willing to provide a statement to the bank, potentially mitigating criminal consequences. He won't pursue the theft of personal items or the unauthorized transfer from the joint account. Claire stared at the document before her, her hand trembling slightly. I watched, not with satisfaction, but with an empty feeling. She'd expected anger, jealousy, or even begging. She didn't expect consequences. This agreement is generous, I said, my voice low. You keep the yoga studio, which is profitable. You keep the car and personal items. You get no alimony. And you're responsible for the debts you incurred in my name. What about Evan? She asked, her voice almost a whisper. Mr. Carter's financial issues are his own, my lawyer replied. But without Mr. Harper's assets as collateral, I understand the bank has begun foreclosure. Claire signed the papers, saying nothing more. As we left the meeting room, she grabbed my hand. I didn't think you'd fight back like this, she said, her voice trembling. You always agreed to everything. That was my choice, I replied. As this was yours. I pulled my hand away, walked off, and didn't look back. A month later, I moved out of the hotel and into a small craftsman house in West Asheville. Not as flashy as the apartment Claire picked, but it had old wooden floors, windows overlooking a garden, and a sense of authenticity. I started fixing it up, painting walls, installing kitchen cabinets, tasks that kept my hands busy and my mind calm. Ethan came to help one afternoon, bringing beer and tools. Heard from Claire? He asked, measuring a hinge for a cabinet. No, I replied, sawing a board, and I don't expect to. You know, you could have taken everything from her, Ethan said. The fraud charges alone would have been enough. What's the point? I replied, shrugging. She's not my problem anymore. We worked in silence, the rhythm of measuring, sawing, and fitting oddly meditative. I'm thinking of taking a couple weeks off, I said. Drive up to the Great Smoky Mountains, fish at Dad's old cabin. Dad would have liked that, Ethan replied. You haven't been up there since he passed. I heard through mutual friends that Claire moved to Colorado, posting mountain photos and new beginnings quotes on Instagram. Evan's gym was bought out by a big chain. He moved to Miami to expand his brand. No one mentioned what happened. People rarely flaunt failure. One morning I called the office, saying I'd take 2 weeks off. I packed the car, locked the house, and drove to the Great Smoky Mountains. No schedule, no expectations, just the open road. I stopped by a stream, water gurgling over rocks, the misty forest enveloping me. I stood there breathing the crisp air, reflecting on the past 14 years. I'd let Claire define my life, seen the signs but ignored them, prepared for this day without daring to believe it would come. I didn't feel triumph or spite. I just felt free. I drove on, sunlight filtering through the trees. For the first time in years, I wasn't carrying an invisible ledger of grudges to balance. The story of Nathan Harper and wife left me during her girls' trip and emptied our joint account. She had no idea about. Reflects real issues in modern American life, particularly around personal finance, trust in marriage, and resilience after crisis. Nathan, a forensic accountant in Asheville, North Carolina, faces betrayal when his wife Claire drains $120,000 from their joint account and leaves him for a new life with Evan Carter. Nathan's journey, from uncovering fraud, activating a contingency plan, to finding freedom in the Great Smoky Mountains, offers valuable lessons about preparation, self-protection, and healing in an American context, where financial pressures and social media constrain relationships. The biggest lesson from the story is the importance of financial and emotional preparation for unexpected crises, a common reality in the U.S., where 60% of adults lack enough savings to handle emergencies per a Federal Reserve survey. Nathan quietly set up hidden accounts, trusts, and limited liability companies 6 years earlier, driven by his forensic expertise and his father's warning about Claire's spending habits. This allowed him to lock the joint account and protect his assets when Claire committed fraud, like forging his signature for a $175,000 loan. Americans today, especially amid rising living costs in cities like Asheville, should follow Nathan's example, establish emergency funds, diversify assets, and understand joint accounts in marriage. Moreover, Nathan's calm focus when confronting Claire at the office, refusing manipulation, underscores the value of maintaining personal boundaries. Finally, his trip to the Great Smoky Mountains, where he reflects on freedom, reminds us that healing requires time and self-forgiveness. In America's fast-paced culture, where the pressure to move on is intense, this lesson encourages finding space to reconnect with oneself, as Nathan did, to rebuild life with hope and strength. Subscribe to the channel to follow inspiring stories like Nathan Harper's journey through adversity. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video with more life lessons.